Finding Your Inner Peace, written and published by Sonic Tome. You've felt it before, those quiet moments when everything aligns, when the noise of the world falls away, and for just a breath, you're completely at peace. It's the feeling of being grounded, of knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're meant to do. But somehow that calm always slips away. Life, with all its distractions and demands, pulls you in 1,000 directions, leaving you longing for that elusive stillness. What if the peace you seek isn't a fleeting moment to be chased, but something that is always within reach? What if the key to living a life of clarity, purpose, and serenity lies not in escaping the world, but in learning how to live in it fully, without losing your sense of self? To exist in a way that allows you to move through life's challenges with grace, and to embrace every moment with a calm presence that doesn't waver under pressure. The truth is, the path to this deeper peace is not about waiting for the right circumstances to come along. It's about learning to listen to your inner voice, your true self, and aligning with the rhythm of life rather than fighting against it. It's about releasing the weight of expectations, the constant pull to be something you're not, and finally recognizing that peace is not something to be found, but something to be nurtured, cultivated, and lived. This journey isn't about perfection, it's about authenticity. It's about shedding the layers that have been placed on you by the world, and instead, uncovering the truth of who you are. When you align with that truth, something remarkable happens. Life becomes more vibrant, more purposeful, and most importantly, more peaceful. The noise fades, and in its place you begin to experience the quiet strength of your own presence, the serene flow of your own being, and the clarity that comes when your actions align with your inner wisdom. Are you ready to stop searching for peace and start living it? Chapter 1. Embracing Stillness. In a world that constantly demands our attention, stillness is often seen as a luxury, something reserved for special moments or far-off places. But in truth, stillness is not something to seek out only in rare instances. It is a state that we can access at any given moment, no matter how chaotic the outside world may seem. Stillness is not the absence of activity, but the presence of peace amidst it all. It's in those fleeting moments when you pause, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to just be. Whether it's a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, the gentle rhythm of your breath as you sit in silence, or the feeling of stillness while looking at the sky, these are the sacred moments that provide the foundation for everything else in life. We are often consumed by the endless noise of daily life, work, obligations, relationships, social media, and even the internal chatter that never seems to stop. But when we allow ourselves to experience stillness, we give ourselves permission to step away from all that noise, even if only for a few moments. It's in these moments of quiet that we reconnect with ourselves, not as the roles we play, but as the person we truly are beneath it all. In stillness, there's a profound sense of clarity. The mind, often clouded with distractions, begins to clear. With the noise faded into the background, we can hear our true thoughts and feelings more clearly. It's in this space that we gain insight about our desires, our fears, and our true motivations. We are often so focused on doing, achieving, and striving that we forget to listen to the quiet whispers of our hearts, which hold the answers to our deepest questions. This sense of clarity extends beyond the mind and into the body as well. In stillness, we become attuned to the subtle sensations within us, the tension in our shoulders, the tightness in our chest, or the deep sense of calm that follows a deep breath. By embracing these moments of stillness, we learn to listen to what our bodies are telling us, offering us a way to heal, restore, and align ourselves with our true well-being. The beauty of stillness lies in its simplicity. You don't need to go on a retreat or isolate yourself in a remote place to experience it. It's about finding the moments within your daily routine to quiet the external noise and turn inward. Even in the midst of a busy day, a brief pause, a moment to center yourself, can be enough to restore balance and peace. What often prevents us from embracing stillness is our resistance to it. In a society that values constant productivity, taking time for stillness can feel like an indulgence, a waste of time. Yet, it is in these moments of pause that we cultivate the energy and clarity needed to act more purposefully. Rather than running from one task to the next, stillness invites us to slow down, reconnect with our inner rhythm, and approach life with more intention. The pace of life may not slow down, but our experience of it can shift dramatically. The power of stillness also lies in its ability to reveal what truly matters. When we are constantly busy, we may not have the time or space to reflect on our priorities. Stillness forces us to confront the deeper questions. What are we really striving for? What do we want our lives to reflect? These moments provide the opportunity to step back and examine if the path we're on aligns with our deepest values and long-term vision. It's easy to become distracted by the demands of the external world, but when we embrace stillness, we create a sanctuary within ourselves. It's a place where peace resides, regardless of the noise around us. And in this space, we find our true direction, our real purpose, and the unwavering peace that comes from connecting to who we are at our core. True stillness is not about escaping the world, but about engaging with it from a place of calm and clarity. It's about becoming the eye of the storm, untouched by the turbulence that surrounds us, centered and strong in our own peace. Chapter 2. The Inner Calm Within. In the rush of life, there's an often overlooked truth. Serenity is not something to be found outside ourselves. It is already present, tucked away in the quietest corners of our being, waiting for us to notice it. This calm is not a luxury or something that needs to be earned. It's an innate part of who we are, accessible at any moment, regardless of what's happening around us. The noise of everyday life can be deafening. Constant demands, obligations, expectations, the pressure to perform and achieve. Over time, we become so caught up in the external world that we forget to check in with ourselves. We start to believe that peace is something to be sought after, something outside of us, when in reality, it's as close as our next breath. The truth is, our minds are like rivers, constantly flowing with thoughts, worries, desires, and distractions. But if we pause long enough to listen, we can hear the stillness beneath the current. Beneath all that noise, there's a deeper rhythm, a natural state of calm that has always been there, but it often goes unnoticed because we're too busy chasing after the next thing. This stillness isn't a product of external circumstances, but a reflection of our own inner nature, waiting for us to reconnect with it. When we talk about unlocking this inner calm, we're not talking about forcing stillness upon ourselves, but rather about peeling back the layers of tension, stress, and distraction that obscure it. It's about learning how to become aware of the quiet moments that are always present, whether it's the feeling of your feet on the ground, the steady rise and fall of your chest with each breath, or the pause between thoughts. These moments are the threads that, when woven together, reveal the calm that lies beneath the surface. Often we look outside ourselves for peace, thinking it's something that needs to be attained through success, possessions, or validation from others. But true serenity is not about achieving or accumulating. It's about removing the barriers that prevent us from experiencing it. It's about recognizing that peace is already here, within us, and that it has always been a part of us. The noise of the world, the anxiety we carry, the constant striving, they're just distractions that prevent us from seeing the truth. To unlock this inner calm, we must begin by becoming more present in our lives. We get so caught up in the past and future that we forget to inhabit the present moment. We spend our time reliving past mistakes or worrying about future outcomes, and in doing so, we miss the stillness that exists right now. When we let go of the need to control every moment and simply allow ourselves to experience the here and now, we begin to tap into the peace that's always available. It's important to recognize that this inner calm doesn't require external validation or specific circumstances. It's not dependent on getting everything right or achieving certain goals. It doesn't require us to escape from the challenges of life. Rather, it is a state of being, that allows us to navigate the chaos of life with grace, knowing that, no matter what happens, our peace doesn't have to be disturbed. Life will always present challenges, times of stress, moments of uncertainty, and situations that seem out of our control. But when we understand that our inner calm is a constant resource, we can face those challenges without losing our sense of peace. It's not about avoiding difficulties, but about approaching them from a place of stillness and clarity, knowing that we have the strength within to handle whatever comes our way. The key to unlocking this calm is simple but profound. We must trust in our ability to access it. This isn't about finding calm, but rather about remembering it's already there. It's about recognizing the moments when we are already at peace, even when everything around us is chaotic. We often think of peace as something we need to work for, but in reality, peace is something we need to allow ourselves to experience. As we grow more aware of this inner calm, we start to realize that we don't have to chase after peace or escape the world to find it. Instead, we can integrate moments of stillness into our daily lives, whether through quiet reflection, mindful breathing, or simply becoming aware of the present moment. When we connect to the calm within, it spreads to every area of our lives, allowing us to move through the world with greater ease, resilience, and clarity. The calm that lies within us is not fragile. It's not something that will disappear if we face difficulty or chaos. It's a part of who we are, a wellspring that can be drawn upon whenever we need it. All we have to do is stop, breathe, and remember that peace is always available, waiting for us to notice. Chapter 3. Letting go of the noise. Every day we are bombarded by a cacophony of sounds, opinions, and demands, each one vying for our attention. The external world, with all its distractions, often fills the space that should be reserved for clarity and inner peace. It's like trying to listen to your own thoughts in the middle of a crowded room, where every voice, every alert, every interruption makes it harder to hear the only one that truly matters. Your own. This noise isn't just literal. It's the constant pull of expectations, judgments, and opinions. It's the pressure to conform, to live up to others' standards, or to keep up with the endless stream of information we're exposed to daily. We become so entangled in it that we lose sight of who we really are, what we really want, and what is truly important. We begin to live in reaction to the world around us instead of from a place of self-awareness and intention. Tuning into your authentic self requires a deliberate process of stepping away from the noise. This doesn't mean physically isolating yourself from the world, but rather learning how to quiet the inner and outer distractions long enough to reconnect with your true essence. It's in the silence, in the moments of stillness, that the voice of your inner wisdom rises above the din of everyday life. To let go of the noise, we must first recognize its presence. It's easy to ignore the influence of external pressures because they've become so ingrained in our daily routine. We've learned to live in a constant state of reaction, responding to every ping, every notification, every demand. But the truth is, this constant state of activity pulls us away from the most important relationship we have, the one with ourselves. We start to define ourselves by our accomplishments, the opinions of others, or the roles we play in society, rather than by our inner truth. Letting go of the noise isn't about rejecting the world or withdrawing from it. It's about shifting our focus back to what truly matters. It's about understanding that we don't need to keep up with every trend or worry about every expectation placed on us. We don't need to be all things to all people. Instead, we need to rediscover the simple act of being ourselves, free from the external pressures that weigh us down. This process begins with a conscious decision to unplug, to step back from the constant flow of external input. Whether it's taking a break from social media, choosing moments of solitude, or simply choosing not to respond immediately to every demand, we begin to reclaim control over our mental and emotional space. By creating these pockets of quiet, we allow our minds to reset, to find clarity and peace once again. In this space of quiet, we can begin to hear the deeper parts of ourselves. The noise of the world drowns out our intuition, our deepest desires, and our true passions. When we silence the external chatter, we create space for these inner voices to be heard. It's only when we stop reacting to every external demand that we can begin to respond to our own needs, to our own dreams, and to the calling of our authentic self. The noise doesn't just come from the outside, we also carry it within. We often create internal noise through self-doubt, fear, and insecurity. We judge ourselves by the same external standards that the world imposes on us, and this only adds to the clutter in our minds. To truly tune into our authentic selves, we must also release these self-imposed judgments. We must learn to trust that we are enough, just as we are. This requires us to confront the limiting beliefs we hold about ourselves and begin the process of letting go of the inner critic. When we stop being so affected by external expectations, we can start to define our own path. We are no longer dictated by what others think of us or by the opinions that shape our lives. Instead, we begin to live from a place of internal clarity, where our decisions, actions, and desires align with our true selves. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with a simple act of awareness and a commitment to release the noise, both from the world and from within. Living authentically means making space for what is truly important and letting go of everything else. It's about finding peace in the present moment, without constantly measuring ourselves against a standard that isn't ours to begin with. When we learn to let go of the noise, we create room for the only sound that truly matters, the voice of our own truth, leading us toward a life that feels aligned, purposeful, and peaceful. Chapter 4. Building a Foundation of Serenity. Serenity doesn't arrive in a sudden wave or during moments of perfect stillness. It's not a fleeting state that we can only experience when life is calm, but rather a steady, grounded way of being that we cultivate over time. To build a lasting foundation of serenity, we must lay the groundwork through small, intentional actions that become part of our daily routine. These habits are the quiet anchors that keep us grounded, no matter what storms may come. Serenity is not a destination. It's a practice, a way of living that begins with how we choose to engage with the world around us. In a world where we are constantly faced with the pressure to perform, achieve, and keep up, cultivating peace becomes an act of self-preservation. We must carve out moments for ourselves, moments that allow us to check in with our thoughts and emotions, to reconnect with our bodies, and to realign with our inner truth. Building this foundation starts with the simple act of creating space. It's easy to become consumed by the demands of work, relationships, and the countless distractions that fill our days. But serenity requires us to actively choose time for stillness. This doesn't have to be long periods of meditation or retreat. It can be as simple as 5 minutes of quiet in the morning before the world starts to encroach on our minds, or a brief pause between tasks to recalibrate. These moments, when consistently practiced, act as reminders that we don't have to be in a constant state of doing to be valuable or worthy. In fact, it's in these small pauses that we reconnect with ourselves and find the foundation upon which our peace is built. It's also essential to recognize that true serenity isn't dependent on external conditions. Life is full of change, some of it welcome, some of it challenging. But the mind can remain at peace even when circumstances aren't ideal. This is where the practice of acceptance comes in. Serenity doesn't mean the absence of discomfort or difficulty. It means having the capacity to accept what is without resisting it. When we accept that life will always have its ups and downs, and that we cannot control everything, we free ourselves from the constant stress of trying to fix or change things outside our control. We begin to approach life with a sense of calm resilience, knowing that we can handle whatever comes our way, without letting it throw us off balance. Another key element in building a foundation of serenity is learning to prioritize our emotional and mental well-being. We often place the needs of others before our own, believing that self-care is selfish or indulgent. But in truth, we cannot pour from an empty cup. The more we nurture our own peace, the more we are able to show up fully for others. This means setting boundaries, saying no when necessary, and recognizing when we need to rest, recharge, or step back. These actions are not signs of weakness, but rather of strength. They are the building blocks of a serene life, one where we honor our own needs, and in doing so, create the space to be present for those around us. Physical habits also play a significant role in supporting a peaceful mind. Our bodies and minds are deeply interconnected, and when we care for our bodies, we create a fertile ground for serenity to take root. Regular movement, whether through exercise, yoga, or simply going for a walk, helps to release tension and clear the mind. Sleep, too, is crucial. We often overlook the importance of rest, but when we are well rested, our minds are clearer, more focused, and better able to process emotions. A nourishing diet, free from excessive stimulants or processed foods, provides the energy we need to stay balanced and centered throughout the day. The practice of mindfulness is another key pillar in creating lasting serenity. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. It allows us to observe our thoughts and feelings without becoming consumed by them. When we practice mindfulness, we start to recognize patterns in our thinking, how we react to stress, how we handle conflict, how we respond to our own inner dialogue. This awareness allows us to make conscious choices about how we engage with the world. Rather than reacting impulsively, we learn to pause, reflect, and respond from a place of clarity. Over time, these mindful moments accumulate, forming the foundation for a serene and intentional life. Lastly, building a foundation of serenity requires patience and compassion with ourselves. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that peace should come quickly, that we should be able to master calmness overnight. But serenity, like any meaningful change, is a gradual process. There will be times when we lose our sense of peace, when life feels overwhelming, and when the noise of the world becomes too much. In those moments, it's essential to be gentle with ourselves, to remember that building a peaceful life is not about perfection, but about practice. Each time we return to our center, we strengthen the foundation we're building, layer by layer. As we continue to nurture these habits, we begin to see that serenity is not something we have to work hard to achieve. It is something that is always within us, just waiting to be recognized. With each practice, each moment of stillness, we carve out space for peace to take root, creating a life that, while not without its challenges, remains grounded in a deep and unwavering sense of inner calm. Chapter 5. Flowing with Life's Rhythm. Life is a river, ever moving, constantly shifting, and unpredictable. Just as a river doesn't resist the rocks and bends along its path, we too can learn to navigate through life's challenges with a sense of ease and grace. This is not to say that life will be without turbulence. Storms will come, currents will change, and obstacles will arise. But when we stop fighting against the flow, when we stop struggling to control every twist and turn, we open ourselves to the possibility of moving through it all with fluidity and peace. The key to flowing with life's rhythm is in learning to yield, not to give up, but to flow. Much like a dancer who surrenders to the music, we must tune into the tempo of life around us and allow ourselves to move in harmony with it. Life's rhythm is not something we can force. It must be felt, experienced, and embraced in its own time. When we flow with life, we stop pushing against the inevitable. We stop trying to control outcomes and instead trust that the rhythm will guide us where we need to go. One of the most profound aspects of flowing with life's rhythm is the ability to release the need for certainty. We often crave security, wanting to know what comes next, wanting to predict and control the future. But the truth is, uncertainty is a constant in life. The more we try to grasp at control, the more we disrupt our natural flow. When we let go of the need to know everything, we create the space for trust to enter. Trust in the process, trust in the lessons that each moment brings, and trust that we are always exactly where we need to be. The practice of flowing with life also involves learning how to embrace change. Change is an unavoidable part of the human experience. In fact, life is defined by change, whether in our circumstances, our relationships, or our own personal growth. Resistance to change often causes the most stress and suffering. When we fight against the natural flow of life, we create tension within ourselves and our surroundings. But when we shift our mindset and begin to see change not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth, we can move through it with grace. Rather than resisting the current, we begin to see the opportunities within it. Change, after all, is where transformation happens. Another important part of this flow is learning to be fully present. We often get caught up in worrying about the future or replaying the past, but the only moment that truly exists is the one we are in. Life moves at its own pace, and when we stop rushing, when we stop trying to race ahead or hold on to what is already gone, we allow ourselves to flow with the present moment. This doesn't mean we become passive or complacent, but that we choose to actively engage with the present rather than living in the constant state of what's next. When we are present, we open ourselves to the full richness of life, allowing the rhythm to move through us with grace and purpose. Letting go of expectations is also a critical part of flowing with life. We often have preconceived notions about how things should unfold, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or personal goals. When things don't go according to plan, it's easy to become frustrated or discouraged. But the truth is, the flow of life doesn't always follow the path we expect, and this is where the magic happens. By letting go of rigid expectations, we allow ourselves the freedom to explore new possibilities and embrace the unexpected. Life is not a straight line. It's a winding journey, full of surprises and detours. The more open we are to the natural flow, the more we discover. To truly move through life with ease, we must also cultivate the practice of patience. Life's rhythm is not always fast-paced. Sometimes it is slow, gentle, and requires us to pause, reflect, and wait for the right moment to move forward. Patience is not a passive act. It is an active form of surrender. It's trusting that the timing of our lives will unfold in its own way, and that we don't need to force anything to happen. Patience gives us the space to breathe, to let things unfold naturally, and to honor the process without rushing toward the outcome. As we learn to move with life's rhythm, we also learn to develop resilience. The road may not always be smooth, but when we flow with life's challenges, we discover that we are stronger than we realize. Rather than feeling defeated by setbacks or obstacles, we begin to see them as part of the journey, just another current in the river. Resilience doesn't mean we never feel challenged. It means we have the ability to bend, to adapt, and to rise above. Resilience is the quiet strength that allows us to weather the storms and continue moving forward, always in tune with the rhythm of life. By embracing this flow, we begin to experience a profound sense of freedom. The more we let go of our need to control, the more we open ourselves to a life of ease. We are no longer bound by rigid expectations or the constant need to push against the current. Instead, we move in harmony with the world around us, navigating life's challenges not with force, but with grace. Flowing with life's rhythm becomes not just a practice, but a way of living, a way of embracing the present moment, welcoming change and trusting that the journey will unfold exactly as it should. Chapter 6. The Power of Acceptance. There is a quiet strength that lies in the ability to accept life as it is in all its unpredictability and imperfection. It's easy to fall into the trap of wishing things were different, yearning for better circumstances, better outcomes, or better versions of ourselves. But in doing so, we often miss the profound peace that comes from embracing the present moment, exactly as it is, with all its rawness, beauty, and flaws. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It's not about resigning ourselves to a life that feels stagnant or unworthy. On the contrary, true acceptance is about acknowledging the truth of where we are, and then finding a way to live fully within that reality. It's about releasing the tension that comes from the constant struggle to change or escape what is happening right now. We often forget that life is in constant motion, and fighting against it only causes more friction. Acceptance allows us to rest in the flow, instead of constantly swimming against the current. When we embrace life as it is, we stop being ruled by the need for control. Control can seem like a powerful force, the illusion that if we manage every detail, we'll be safe or secure. But the truth is, control is fleeting. Life will always throw something unexpected our way, and no matter how tightly we grip, we can't hold on to certainty forever. Acceptance, on the other hand, invites us to surrender to the present, to trust that whatever comes our way, we can handle it. By relinquishing control, we free ourselves from the anxiety of trying to dictate the course of events. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. Instead, we choose to engage with life without fear of the unknown. The power of acceptance also lies in its ability to ease suffering. Much of our emotional pain comes from resistance, resisting the way things are, wishing for something different, or trying to force outcomes. We reject the present moment, and in doing so, we create inner conflict. But when we accept life without judgment or expectation, we create space for peace to enter. We no longer define ourselves by what we wish was different, but by our ability to be at peace with what is. In relationships, acceptance can transform the way we connect with others. How often do we find ourselves frustrated with people because they don't meet our expectations or behave the way we think they should? This constant need to change or fix others only leads to discontent. Acceptance in relationships means seeing others for who they are, not for who we want them to be. It's about honoring their journey, their struggles, and their unique way of being in the world. When we accept others as they are, without judgment, we create space for deeper, more authentic connections. We let go of the need to control their responses or actions and embrace them as they come. The process of acceptance also requires a deep sense of self-compassion. We are often our own harshest critics, constantly measuring ourselves against some ideal or standard. But perfection is an illusion, and this constant striving for an unattainable ideal only leaves us exhausted and disconnected from ourselves. To accept ourselves is to embrace our imperfections, to acknowledge our flaws without shame, and to treat ourselves with the same kindness that we would offer a loved one. When we can accept our own humanness, our mistakes, our weaknesses, our imperfections, we can begin to find peace within ourselves. We stop punishing ourselves for not measuring up, and instead, we embrace the person we are, as we are. Acceptance also means embracing the ebb and flow of emotions. Life will always present us with a wide range of feelings: joy, sadness, frustration, excitement, fear. Often, we are taught to suppress or resist certain emotions, to avoid the ones that feel uncomfortable or painful. But the more we try to control our emotions, the more they control us. True acceptance of our emotions means allowing them to come and go freely, without judgment or resistance. Instead of labeling emotions as good or bad, we simply experience them, knowing that each feeling is a passing wave in the ocean of our inner landscape. We don't hold on to them, nor do we push them away. We allow ourselves to feel fully, and then we let go. At the core of acceptance is a deep trust in the unfolding of life. It's a trust that, even when things don't go according to our plan, there is still purpose in the journey. When we accept life as it is, we stop trying to force outcomes and allow space for the unexpected. We begin to trust that the timing of our lives is not arbitrary, but guided by forces greater than ourselves. We stop obsessing over what we think should happen, and instead open ourselves to what is happening. Life's twists and turns may not always make sense in the moment, but with acceptance, we begin to see the beauty in the unpredictability. The power of acceptance is transformative. It frees us from the chains of resistance, judgment, and control. It allows us to live with a deep sense of peace, no matter the circumstances. When we accept life as it is, we stop fighting against ourselves and the world around us. Instead, we start to flow with it, trusting that whatever comes our way, we are capable of handling it with grace. In this space of acceptance, we find freedom, not just from external circumstances, but from the inner conflict that so often holds us back. Chapter 7. Releasing the weight of expectations. There's a quiet burden we all carry, a weight that often goes unnoticed until we pause long enough to feel its heaviness. It's the pressure of expectations, those silent rules and invisible standards that we impose on ourselves, and that the world imposes on us. From the earliest stages of life, we're taught to strive for perfection, perfect grades, perfect appearances, perfect behavior. Yet, this pursuit of an idealized version of ourselves can lead to a life built on illusions rather than authenticity. It creates a constant sense of striving, of never quite being enough, no matter how much we achieve. But what if we stopped measuring our worth by these external standards? What if we gave ourselves permission to simply be, free from the weight of unrealistic expectations? Living authentically means stepping into the fullness of who you are, without the need to conform to an image or a set of ideals created by someone else. Every day, we are surrounded by messages, whether from society, family, or even our inner voice, that tell us how we should look, act, or feel. We internalize these messages and begin to mold ourselves into something that feels more like a performance than a true expression of self. We become actors playing roles that weren't written for us, constantly striving to meet an impossible mark. This exhausting pursuit takes us further away from the real essence of who we are, as we bend and twist ourselves into shapes that don't fit. To release the weight of these expectations is to stop living for the approval of others. It means letting go of the need for external validation, whether it comes from achievements, appearances, or comparisons. Imagine for a moment if you didn't have to live up to any ideal. What would that feel like? Without the pressure to be flawless, you could embrace your unique strengths, your quirks, and your imperfections. You could exist in the fullness of who you are, without the constant need to apologize for your humanity. The first step toward authentic living is recognizing that perfection is not a goal worth chasing. It's a trap that keeps us stuck in a cycle of striving, never allowing us to pause and appreciate what we already are. Expectations often fuel an internal narrative of, I should, I must, or I have to. These phrases govern the way we make decisions and navigate our lives. They create a constant tension, like a rope pulled tight between who we are and who we think we should be. The shoulds are everywhere. The pressure to be successful by a certain age, to fit into certain social molds, to meet others' needs before our own. This invisible tension creates an inner conflict that saps energy and joy, as it forces us to operate from a place of obligation rather than inspiration. The more we live by these expectations, the further we move from living genuinely and joyfully. To break free from these expectations, we must start with a simple but powerful question. Who am I without all of these layers? Who am I beyond the need to prove something to others or live up to someone else's idea of success? It's a question that calls us to peel back the layers of societal conditioning and self-imposed rules that no longer serve us. These layers might have been important at some point in our lives, but as we grow and evolve, they begin to hold us back from experiencing life fully. The weight of expectations can cause us to overlook our own voice, our own desires, and the natural flow of our lives. But when we release these pressures, we can tune into something deeper, our authentic self. Living authentically also means embracing failure as part of the process. Expectations often fuel a fear of failure, as we measure ourselves against a standard that demands perfection. We fear judgment, rejection, and the consequences of not measuring up. But failure is not the enemy. It is simply a part of the human experience, a stepping stone toward growth. When we release the fear of falling short, we give ourselves permission to fail, to stumble, and to learn from our mistakes. In this space, we remove the mask of perfection and step into our humanity, recognizing that failure is not a reflection of who we are, but simply an experience we move through on our way to growth. The journey of letting go of expectations also involves redefining success. Success, when seen through the lens of expectations, becomes a distant and ever-moving target. It's defined by what we don't have yet, or what we haven't achieved according to someone else's timeline. But true success is not found in achievements, but in the ability to live authentically and in alignment with our own values. Success is about peace of mind, contentment with who we are, and the courage to show up as we are without the need for approval. When we release the need to constantly meet external standards, we begin to see that success is not a destination. It's a way of being. To live authentically means embracing our imperfections and letting go of the narrative that we must always be at our best. There is beauty in the rawness, the messiness, and the authenticity of being real. It's about allowing ourselves the space to be flawed and human, without fearing judgment. When we stop striving for an unattainable perfection, we can fully appreciate the uniqueness of our journey, the lessons we learn along the way, and the strength we gain from navigating life's challenges. Releasing the weight of expectations is a radical act of self-love. It's an invitation to step into the fullness of your life, free from comparison, judgment, and the endless cycle of trying to meet the needs and wants of others. It is in this space of freedom that we truly discover who we are and what we are capable of. Instead of measuring ourselves against an ideal, we begin to measure ourselves against our own growth, our own authenticity, and our own peace. And in this, we find the greatest sense of freedom and joy, the freedom to simply be. Chapter 8. Nurturing your inner sanctuary. Inside each of us is a sacred space, a quiet, undisturbed realm that holds the essence of who we truly are. Yet in the hustle and noise of life, we often forget about this inner sanctuary, allowing it to become cluttered with worries, fears, and external distractions. We all have the capacity to create and protect this space, but it requires intention and care. It's not something that happens automatically. It's something we must actively cultivate, nurturing it like we would tend to a garden. Just as a physical sanctuary offers refuge from the outside world, our inner sanctuary provides the peace and calm we need to reconnect with ourselves, to find stillness amidst the chaos, and to foster a sense of wholeness and balance. At the core of nurturing this sanctuary is the ability to slow down and tune in. The mind is constantly being pulled in 1,000 different directions: thoughts about the past, worries about the future, demands of the present. In this constant stream of noise, we forget how to simply be. But our inner sanctuary thrives in stillness. The practice of slowing down allows us to hear the quiet voice of our soul, to feel our emotions without judgment, and to simply experience life as it is, without the need to change anything. It is in this space that we remember who we are beneath the layers of expectation, stress, and societal pressures. Creating this sanctuary involves clearing away the mental and emotional clutter that blocks our ability to connect with our deeper self. Every thought, belief, and emotion we carry with us can either nurture or drain us. Some thoughts are nourishing, empowering us to move forward with confidence, while others are like weeds choking our peace and well-being. To care for your inner sanctuary is to become mindful of the thoughts you allow to take root. When negative or limiting beliefs arise, it's essential to acknowledge them, but also to choose whether to entertain them. Like a gardener, you must decide which thoughts are worth nurturing and which ones must be uprooted. Our emotional landscape is just as important. It's easy to become overwhelmed by our emotions, to let them carry us away in turbulent waves. But emotions, like clouds, are temporary. They are a natural part of our human experience, but they don't define us. When we cultivate our inner sanctuary, we create a space where emotions can come and go without disrupting our peace. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring our feelings. Rather, it's about learning to experience them fully, without letting them take control. Just as a sanctuary is a space of refuge, our inner sanctuary becomes a place where we can hold our emotions in a compassionate embrace, allowing them to pass through us without judgment. One of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is the ability to simply rest in our own presence. We often seek peace and fulfillment outside of ourselves, thinking that a change in circumstances, a new job, or a new relationship will bring us the contentment we crave. But true fulfillment comes from within. When we nurture our inner sanctuary, we stop seeking external validation or approval. We learn that peace isn't something that needs to be found or earned. It's something that we already possess. It's a state of being that arises when we stop trying to force or control our lives and allow ourselves to just be present in the moment, fully accepting and embracing who we are. The sanctuary we create within ourselves is also a place of deep self-compassion. We are often our harshest critics, demanding perfection and berating ourselves for our mistakes and shortcomings. But when we nurture our inner sanctuary, we learn to treat ourselves with kindness and patience. We begin to recognize that we are worthy of love and respect, simply because we exist. This shift in how we view ourselves allows us to let go of self-judgment and guilt, replacing them with self-acceptance and peace. The more we cultivate this compassion, the more our inner sanctuary becomes a place of healing and growth. Building an inner sanctuary also requires intentional practices that support mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Meditation, mindfulness, journaling, and breathing exercises are just a few tools that can help quiet the mind and strengthen the connection to your inner self. These practices don't require much time or effort, but they are powerful in creating a stable foundation for your inner peace. They allow you to carve out moments of stillness throughout your day, no matter how busy life gets. Each small act of self-care, each moment spent in stillness, contributes to the nurturing of your inner sanctuary. Over time, these practices become habits that foster peace and joy, even in the midst of life's inevitable ups and downs. In this inner sanctuary, you also learn to set healthy boundaries, protecting your peace from the chaos of the outside world. Boundaries aren't about building walls or shutting others out. Rather, they are about knowing what you need to feel safe and whole. They allow you to honor your own needs and desires without feeling guilty or selfish. A well-nurtured inner sanctuary helps you to discern when to say yes and when to say no, giving you the strength to prioritize your well-being above external demands. This sense of inner sovereignty is what allows us to live with a deep sense of fulfillment and clarity, free from the influence of external pressures. As you nurture this sacred space within, you begin to notice a shift in your external world. When your inner sanctuary is tended to, you approach life with more patience, grace, and understanding. You no longer react impulsively to life's challenges, but instead, you meet them with a calm, steady presence. This internal peace begins to ripple outward, affecting your relationships, your work, and your interactions with the world. The more you cultivate peace within yourself, the more peace you will experience in the world around you. Chapter 9. Aligning with your true self. The journey to peace begins with an understanding that the essence of who you are is not defined by your circumstances, your past, or the roles you play in life. It's something deeper, more inherent, a constant within you that remains unchanged no matter the fluctuations around you. Yet, it's easy to forget this truth amidst the noise of expectations, judgments, and external pressures. In a world that constantly tells you who to be, how to behave, and what to want, it's no wonder that many of us lose sight of our true essence. Finding your true self isn't about changing who you are or becoming someone else. It's about peeling away the layers of illusion and distortion that have built up over time. These layers are created by your thoughts, beliefs, societal norms, and even your own fears. At their core, they obscure the natural state of being that is your birthright. But within you, beneath these layers, there is a truth that is uniquely yours. This truth is where your peace resides. When you align with this core essence, you begin to experience life in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling, no longer pulled in 1,000 different directions by external influences or internal conflicts. To align with your true self requires deep self-awareness, a willingness to be vulnerable, and a commitment to looking beyond the surface. It's not a process of seeking something outside yourself, but rather a return to what has always been there, waiting to be recognized. This self-awareness is like a quiet, gentle whisper that speaks to you when you take the time to listen. It's the intuition that guides you in subtle ways, helping you make decisions that resonate with your deepest desires and values. Yet, in a world filled with distractions, it can be easy to dismiss this voice, to brush it aside in favor of what others expect, or what feels more immediately comfortable. The more you cultivate the ability to listen to this inner wisdom, the more you begin to trust it. It's like learning to trust a compass that always points you in the right direction, even when the path ahead seems uncertain. This wisdom isn't about logic or reasoning. It transcends the rational mind. It's a knowing that comes from a deeper place, a place that understands the bigger picture, even when you don't. When you align with this inner wisdom, you move through life with a sense of purpose and clarity that can't be shaken by external challenges or setbacks. Aligning with your true self also requires letting go of the idea of perfection. So often we think that to be our true selves, we must be flawless, without fault or weakness. But the truth is, our imperfections are part of what makes us whole. Our struggles, our failures, and our lessons are all woven into the fabric of who we are. They shape us, teach us, and ultimately guide us toward greater self-awareness and growth. When you embrace this reality, you stop hiding from your flaws or trying to prove your worth. You start to live more authentically, unafraid of being seen for who you truly are, imperfections and all. Another key aspect of aligning with your true self is the ability to honor your deepest desires and passions without guilt or shame. For many people, these desires are often pushed aside in favor of what seems more practical or what others deem acceptable. But your desires are a reflection of your essence. They point the way toward what truly brings you joy and fulfillment. When you honor them, you honor yourself. This is not to say that every whim should be followed without thought, but rather that you must discern what feels true to you, what resonates with your inner being. These desires are often the callings that can lead you toward your highest potential, if you're willing to listen. At times, aligning with your true self means making difficult choices, setting boundaries, and stepping away from situations or relationships that no longer serve you. It's about recognizing that peace doesn't come from pleasing others or meeting external expectations. True peace comes from the internal harmony that arises when you live in accordance with your authentic self. This may require difficult decisions or sacrifices, but in the long run, it's the only way to experience the lasting peace you seek. As you align more closely with who you really are, you begin to realize that what truly matters is not the approval of others or meeting outside standards of success. It's the peace that comes from living in alignment with your own truth. This journey of alignment is not a destination, but rather a continual process of coming back to yourself, again and again. Life will always present challenges, and there will be moments when you feel disconnected or lost. But as you strengthen your connection to your true self, you develop an inner resilience that helps you navigate these moments with greater ease. Your true self becomes a touchstone, a reminder that no matter what happens around you, you have within you the wisdom and strength to weather any storm. The more you align with your essence, the more your external world begins to shift. You will find that relationships become more meaningful, your work feels more purposeful, and your actions are in harmony with your values. When you stop living according to the expectations of others and begin to trust in your own inner guidance, everything falls into place. The peace you seek is already within you, waiting for you to connect with it. It's not about finding peace outside of yourself, but about remembering the peace that has always existed within you. Chapter 10. A Life of Purpose and Peace. To live a life of purpose and peace requires more than simply going through the motions. It's not about checking off tasks or meeting external expectations. It's about bringing intentionality into everything you do, aligning your actions with the deeper values that reside within you. The path to living a purpose-driven life is one of clarity, where each decision, each step you take, feels like it's guided by something greater than just the moment. This clarity doesn't come from the outside world, where we're constantly bombarded with distractions and opinions, but from within, where our truest desires and values are rooted. Purpose is often thought of as a lofty goal or a grand mission, but it can also be found in the small, seemingly mundane moments of life. The true purpose of living lies not only in the big, bold decisions, but also in the quiet, everyday acts that align with our deepest self. A purpose-driven life is not one that constantly seeks to achieve or accumulate. It's one that seeks to express, create, and contribute. Every action, no matter how small, is an opportunity to infuse meaning into your day. When your life is aligned with your purpose, even the most routine activities take on new significance. But purpose doesn't just happen by accident. It requires awareness, a deep understanding of what truly matters to you. And sometimes that means letting go of the idea that your purpose must be something big or extraordinary. Often, our true purpose is found in the quiet, unnoticed places of life, taking care of others, making small contributions that add up, or simply living with integrity. Purpose, in its essence, is not about fame or recognition, but about living in harmony with who you are and what you value. When you connect with this deeper sense of purpose, peace naturally follows. It's as if everything you do becomes a reflection of your true self. The busyness and chaos that typically come with the demands of life begin to fade when you act from a place of clarity and intention. Life doesn't feel like a never-ending struggle to meet expectations, but rather a flowing expression of your inner wisdom and desires. Peace emerges because you no longer feel torn between what you want to do and what you think you should do. There's an inner congruence, a harmony between who you are and how you live. Living a life of purpose also means recognizing that every choice you make, no matter how small, is an opportunity to either step into alignment with your true self or to drift further away. Every moment is a chance to reflect your inner values into the world. The simple act of choosing to be kind, to listen more deeply, or to act with integrity is a reflection of your purpose. These moments may seem insignificant in the grand scheme of life, but they are the threads that weave the fabric of a purposeful existence. Peace, too, arises from the quiet certainty that comes from living with purpose. When you're clear on what matters most to you, external noise becomes less influential. Life's challenges, while still inevitable, don't have the same power to throw you off course. You begin to see them as part of the journey rather than obstacles. In the face of difficulties, you're able to remain grounded in your values. There's an inner calm that doesn't waver with the winds of change, because you know that your purpose provides you with direction, no matter what comes your way. Peace is not the absence of conflict or challenges. It's the ability to remain centered within yourself, even when life is chaotic. The clearer your purpose becomes, the more peace you experience. The key lies in the way you respond to the ups and downs of life. Instead of reacting impulsively, you approach situations with a calm understanding that everything, both good and bad, has meaning within the greater context of your life's purpose. This doesn't mean that you won't feel the weight of hardship, but rather that you'll meet it with a sense of knowing that it, too, is part of your journey. True purpose also asks you to embrace the present moment with a sense of fullness. It's about finding peace not in some distant future where everything will be perfect, but in the here and now. The very act of being present, of fully experiencing each moment without judgment or distraction, brings a profound sense of peace. When you're aligned with your purpose, the present moment becomes sacred. Each breath, each interaction, each decision is a reflection of who you are at your core. At the heart of living a life of purpose and peace is a deep, abiding trust in yourself. When you know who you are, when you've connected with your inner wisdom, life doesn't feel as uncertain. Yes, there will still be challenges, but there's an underlying assurance that you are exactly where you need to be. Even when faced with setbacks or obstacles, you know that these are merely stepping stones on your path. The trust you cultivate within yourself becomes the foundation for peace. You realize that you don't need to control everything or have all the answers. What you need is the courage to keep moving forward, trusting that your purpose will always guide you back to peace. Ultimately, Living a life of purpose and peace is about integrating who you are with what you do, aligning your inner world with your outer actions. When your life is in this alignment, peace doesn't feel like something you have to search for. It becomes a natural extension of who you are. Each day becomes an opportunity to live with clarity, to act with intention, and to experience the quiet joy that comes from being deeply connected to your true self. Conclusion. As you stand at the edge of this journey, the truth becomes undeniable. Peace is not a destination. It's not something you reach after climbing a mountain, nor something you acquire through achievement or accumulation. It's not a fleeting experience that comes and goes with the tides of life. It is the essence of who you are, patiently waiting beneath the surface, ready to emerge when you finally give it the space to breathe. In the moments when you choose to step back from the chaos, when you decide to embrace the flow of life without resistance, you are no longer chasing peace. You are living it. And as you nurture this stillness within, something extraordinary begins to unfold. The challenges you face no longer feel insurmountable. They are simply part of the rhythm of existence, a rhythm you now move through with ease and grace. The noise of the world becomes just that, background sound, a distant hum that cannot disrupt the calm you've cultivated in your heart. In the end, peace is not found outside of you, it's awakened within. It's in the moments of silence, the moments of connection, and the quiet acceptance of what is. And as you move forward from here, remember, your true self, the one that is already at peace, is always with you. It is your foundation, your anchor, and your guide. No matter where life takes you, or how many twists and turns it may bring, the serenity you've discovered is yours to carry, and it will continue to shape the path ahead. The journey doesn't end here. It never truly does. It's a continuous unfolding, a lifetime of living in alignment with your deepest, most authentic self. And in that alignment, you will always find the peace you've been searching for.